Good morning, everybody. I've given about a 5 or 10 minute grace period because of holiday, because of traffic. Please take your seats because I think we should begin. This morning we all felt the autumn nip, but we don't have to go to New England to see the fall because this morning we're going to share with you how you, your family, your friends can enjoy the natural beauties of our surroundings right here in our community. I'm going to turn the program over to Rena Beater, our chair for the morning, to present the program.
Thank you, Elaine, and welcome everybody and everybody who may be watching at home. As Elaine said, we're now going into the cooler autumn months. I refuse to believe that it's the middle of winter, but one of the benefits of living in our community is that we have opportunities to get outside no matter what the season, including winter. So with that, I want to welcome Kyle Troy, Jennifer Keefe, and Jocelyn Kleinman to our summit this morning to be able to talk about some of the wonders and perhaps some of the challenges of running the organizations that you currently do. So Kyle Troy is the director and naturalist of the Marine Education Center in Mamaroneck. For those who might not be familiar with the center, its mission is to develop and to deliver hands-on marine educational programs for local schools, camps, clubs, and the public to promote knowledge, conservation, and stewardship of the local Long Island Sound ecosystem. Kyle has been in the field throughout her 18-year career, beginning in Florida and eventually moving up the East Coast and then moving west to California. Her experience ranges from working with whales to sea turtles to steelhead trout and tree frogs, always with the goal of preserving and protecting natural habitats. Jennifer Keefe, the executive director of the Sheldrake Environmental Center, and Jocelyn Kleinman, the director of education for Sheldrake. Sheldrake Environmental Center encompasses 60 acres of land and water with walking trails open daily. Sheldrake's mission is to inspire awareness and action in the community and to preserve, protect, and enhance local resources. The center runs numerous programs for the public at both Sheldrake and throughout the community, and we look forward to hearing about both of these organizations and the opportunities they present and provide to our entire community. Jennifer previously worked as a corporate attorney and later as a middle and secondary school teacher in the New York City public school system. She came to Sheldrake initially as a volunteer member of the board of directors and then transitioned to executive director in 2017. As executive director, Jennifer is responsible for oversight of all operations, including programming, staffing, contracting, resource management, and finances. She also oversees land stewardship and Sheldrake's partnership with the 3 municipalities that own the property: the Town of Mamaroneck, the Village of Mamaroneck, and the City of New Rochelle. Jennifer leverages her education background in the creation of educational resources and team training and continues to teach children at Sheldrake. She's also an avid tennis player and enjoys adventure travel. Jocelyn Kleinman, after an early career as a physical therapist, Jocelyn participated in Sheldrake's environmental educator training class in 2012-2013 and began leading school field trips and community programs as a volunteer. In 2017, Jocelyn became the director of education at Sheldrake, where she's responsible for educational strategy, curriculum development, and staff development. Jocelyn is committed to nonprofit causes, leading to a passion project she spearheaded at Sheldrake since 2020, the revitalization of the Sheldrake Giving Garden. With lots of community support, the volunteer garden donates all the produce to the Larchmont Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force. Well, thank you for all you do with your organizations and clearly in the broader community. So, having read your backgrounds, can each of you talk about what led you to this important work? Do you want to start us off, Plant?
Hi, everyone. So I came here from California. I had lived all around the country in my work, but in California, I was also the director of volunteers, which was new to me in the field, and I loved it. Educating the public became so important to me, especially in my work. I just realized that to do what I do, education is key. So when they offered me the position to kind of revamp the Marine Education Center, I took it and ran with it, and it's been a learning experience, and I love it. It's just, the work is amazing. Getting to know the public, all the schools, it's been awesome. Yeah, that's what got me here.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so pleased to be here with everyone and to talk about nature, which is a passion of mine. I guess, I think you heard my bio. It's a little bit of I wandered around a bit, I will call myself a Renaissance woman instead, who discovered a love for nature after I had my children, and was looking for outdoor opportunities for them and places to go and places to teach them about nature. And over time, I discovered Sheldrake. I actually grew up in New Rochelle, so I have been in the community for, well, I won't reveal my age, many, many decades. And I had no idea Sheldrake even existed until I was a parent in my 30s. So I had no idea, and I was so happy to discover it. And once I did, I really wanted to devote my energy to helping other people learn about Sheldrake and to participate in nature and getting outside. That's how I became a board member and then ultimately the executive director. Nature is a passion of mine. Education is a passion of mine. I left the law to become a teacher, and I think teaching children and being with children in nature is one of the most valuable things that you can do, and it's been a really rewarding experience for me.
Thank you, Jennifer. And before we even started the panel, we were talking about when I had found out about some of these organizations. And I told Jennifer and Jocelyn that I found out about Sheldrake the same when my children were little and they were having the Halloween pumpkin event. Jocelyn.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I also, like Jennifer, had an inflection point. I started out as a PT, and after having some children, there was a chance to kind of do something different. And what I love about Sheldrake is that the mission of preserving the environment and caring for the earth really ties in with all this programming that we do. We're trying to spark the joy. We're hoping that a great experience, a fun experience, an educational experience will develop this cohort, a generation of stewards. And to be part of that is really a gift for me. It's a privilege. And I enjoy my role so much, and I'm really grateful to be giving to the community like this.
Can you each speak a little bit about generally some of the work of Sheldrake and the Marine Education Center and what sort of programs and resources are available to children and adults? Some of these programs we tend to think of as just geared to children, but we both know, three of us, everybody knows that the outdoors is really for everyone. There are benefits no matter the age or your abilities. So could you all speak about that? So why don't we start with you, Jennifer?
I think that Sheldrake, most people who learn about it early on do so through their children and the field trips that many of the children take. All of the elementary schools, K through 5, come to Sheldrake every year, sometimes twice a year. And they learn about nature in various programs depending on their grade. We run about 165 field trips for local elementary elementary schools, for the Mamaroneck School District, for the Scarsdale School District, for Mamaroneck, and for the New Rochelle School District as well. And sometimes we have other groups come from different schools as well. We recently had the blind school, the deaf school come. What was the name of the school? New York School for the Deaf.
School for the Deaf, and it was an unbelievably amazing experience for us to be on the field with an interpreter and with this mixed age group of children who were so enthralled, and we got to be there to introduce them and encourage their nature education. Sorry to interrupt.
No,
you can continue.
no.
It was an amazing experience for every person, including the interpreter, who said, please, next time you do it, have me back. I want to be there.
And then we have other schools. We've had the French American School come, and a number of other local schools come. In addition, as Dana said, nature is for everyone, particularly adults. And I actually think that this became even more true when COVID happened. I think so many people realized the importance of being outside and connecting with other adults and other families in nature. And I think we saw a real explosion of participation in adult programming at that point. We run a lot of mindfulness and wellness programs for adults. We run family nature walks on weekends so that you can go out with your family, extended through generations, older and younger. It's a beautiful time to be outside in the fall. Winter is a lovely time to be outside. You'd be surprised how much you can see and experience when you're out there. So I always remind people, that it's great to get outside, even in the times when you wouldn't normally think about it. And we always offer trips throughout the whole year. But I will let Jocelyn talk as the Director of Education a little bit more about our education.
She did a great job. Some of the other things that I think appeal to adults, besides these general community programs, we have this wonderful group of, it's not all adults, but volunteers who run our what we call our giving garden, which again, all of the produce goes to the food pantry. It's a wonderful, cohesive group that does include a couple of high school kids, but adults who run the gamut, and they really run the whole thing. They've developed this really tight-knit group. Our outdoor mindfulness programs for adults are a really great way to connect. And in the beauty of winter, we find that's our biggest cohort that loves being outside. We do a lot of things with children. We do scout groups, and they help us and we help them. They do some planting in our garden. They do some cleaning up on our trails. They do small projects for us. Our community fairs, our birthday parties, our after school, our preschool, it really runs a gamut. And we especially love doing special programming that we help create with a group in mind. So, yeah.
Oh, I just will add one other thing before it just transitions to Kyle a little bit, is we really appreciate the opportunity to partner with other organizations in the community, the Community Resource Center, and with Kyle, we do have a bilingual group that comes to the Marine Education Center every year, and we're very appreciative of the opportunity to work with many, many local organizations and local governments, and it's been really a great way for us to help communicate the message of the importance of nature.
Thank you. That is one of my favorite groups, the CRC and Sheldrake comes, I think, next week. Yeah. But yeah, I'm fairly new in the community, so I do a lot. I try to do as much as I can. I work with a lot of third grade and up elementary school field trips. High school just ended. They all come, their freshman biology classes come, and I teach them all about the Long Island Sound and the food chain. It's one of my favorite times of the year. This spring, they were surprisingly all great this year. This spring is all elementary schools, and I go from New Rochelle to Pearson, expanding on that. So that's always a lot of fun, about 40 kids per day. for 2 months. Always fun. But I have a lot of high school interns that help during that time of the year. I do the high school internship program, so the high schoolers come down and I kind of just get them involved in the Long Island Sound. For me, I do try to do a lot of adult programs. Again, I'm expanding every year. I do paddleboard cleanups with adults if you ever want to come. They're a lot of fun. Lots of cleanups for me. Try to keep the water clean. Obviously, as a marine biologist, that's super important to me. So I do a cleanup every Friday. And then I do bird walks in the winter. Again, with the winter, the birds, I was an ornithologist for a while. The birds are really, really cool, especially in the winter. We have bald eagles coming around now, which is great. And I do a lot of camps. I have my own camp now at the Marine Center. It runs 3 weeks out of the summer. And I go to a lot of outside camps, like Beach Point, Larchmont Shore Club, Larchmont Yacht Club, Cobley, and the Mamaroneck camp comes to me. I could keep going, but lots of
Please
lots
do.
of programs. I do daily programs during the summer as well. Those are free to the public. Those are about half an hour. We do seining, everything from seining to crabbing, and then I do trying to do a lot of citizen science. I work with the OSR groups from the high school and the robotics club specifically. We just made a garbage robot with them, and it goes around and it's a work in progress, but it's fun. I'm also restoring the oyster beds in Mamaroneck Harbor. Just got the permit for that, which is exciting. We're going to start seeding. Again, the high school students helped me with that. They won a bunch of awards last year for their OSR projects. And invasive species surveys and removal. Our invasive in the Sound is, we have a couple, but I work with Asian shore crabs. And yeah, so any questions about that, you can ask me, but yeah, lots of stuff going on.
Thank you, Kyle. How would somebody find out about some of these wonderful programs? Is there a mailing list that somebody can sign up for? And we'll get to that also, is it? But I'm just curious.
Yeah, so everything's on my website. You could always email me if you want to join in on any of the projects especially. I always want help. A lot of the oyster companies are helping me build new traps, but we'll have to go out. I do surveys once a month on the oyster reefs to see what's living, what's dying, what animals. So the oyster beds are really, really important to our local wildlife for food, for habitat, but for us in the harbor, it's going to help clean the water a little bit more. It'll never be open to the public. That's a big question in terms of eating, but it will help clean the water. But you can always go on my website and check out all the different programs and also email me if you want to.
So what we will do is we always have an article about the program. So we will include links to both of these organizations and to email addresses so you can learn how you can get involved and participate in some of the programs. You know, you've touched on this somewhat with respect to the bald eagles and various other, the oysters. But what plant and animal life are, what other plant and animal life are of particular note in our community? You want to lead us off, Jocelyn? I know there's been an explosion of the bunny population that you responded to on your blog.
You know, Sheldrake is very lucky because we are, I think we have an official designation as a hot bird spot. And besides, in addition to the bald eagle sightings, which we've had now, which never get old because they really are majestic, the osprey population has rebounded in the last, I would say, decade or so. And again, they are also magnificent. And this is one of the reasons when kids come and they say, well, how do you know there are fish in your pond? I'm like, oh, well, do you see this osprey fishing? Do you see the cormorant fishing? The great blue heron fishing? So we have all these beautiful birds, and we're really not biased. We like our small birds too, our hummingbirds that come visit our meadow. We have a native plant and Flower Meadow that we have been working on for, it's a forever project, but it's a project where we remove invasive species and plant native plants and flowers that help support the birds and the smaller animals at Sheldrake. So that's a wonderful place to see our birds. We have an executive director who's in love with groundhogs, and I mean, we can't even imagine what's going on underground. The system is so extensive at Sheldrake, and we've had a bunch of babies this year, which we do love. They're getting ready to hibernate, so they're super fat, but it's now like the next couple weeks, that's it, and then they're gone. And, you know, for us, maybe for some of us, seeing squirrels and chipmunks is no big deal. But I will tell you that for some of these children who we take on trips, depending on where they live, that's fascinating enough. And it's kind of eye-opening for us that that we take for granted is so wonderful for them. So it really runs the gamut. Really little, we take care with our kids and adults, like to care about the creatures that live under the leaf litter and under the logs, because really they're the basis for everything. They need to live because they need to provide food for the next level up and the next level up. So we have all those little critters, we have the bigger ones, we have the soaring eagles. It really runs the gamut.
I'm starting to feel that we should have held our panel outdoors.
There's never a bad season for being outdoors.
Kyle, do you want to speak about that as well? Any animal life, plant life, even because we know in the Long Island Sound in the beds there is plant life.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking to that kind of same thing, I have an after-school program, and last week we did. Everyone makes fun of me. I love plankton. If you don't know what plankton is, tiny animals that you need to
Anybody
see.
who watches SpongeBob,
Yes.
SquarePants, yeah, whatever that is.
Every age,
Exactly.
SpongeBob? I'm like, yeah, well, if you know what it is, that's fine. But just speaking to that same thing, the after-school program, I did plankton, and I don't expect the kids to love it, but I want to teach it. So the kids absolutely were obsessed with it, and I got so excited about it. They wanted to do it the whole time. Look under the microscopes, we were seeing them all move. But I do teach a lot about the food chain in the Long Island Sound. It's so cool. Again, for all ages. I love when people walk in. Again, the Marine Education Center is open to the public. Everyone thinks it's just for like kids or young adults. I have all ages come in and say, "Oh my God, I didn't know this was in the Long Island Sound." It's so awesome. But the plant life, another really, really important plant is alterniflora, which is cordgrass. It looks like nothing to everybody, but it's so important to water quality, to stabilizing the environment. And then you have the mussels, which everyone doesn't realize. Like, I have kids who are like, that's a shell. But I love to like see them actually see the animal. I'll open it up, they see the gills, they see the foot, all that kind of stuff. So it ranges every part of the year. Is so cool to see. And the questions that I get in terms of, hey, what bird is that? I didn't know that was here, and I've been walking here all my life, and I didn't know that was here. So it's every animal in the Long Island Sound is important to the food chain, to us. So yeah, I think the plant life, especially a lot of people take for granted, especially all our alterniflora, which helps everything, helps clean the water, helps stabilize.
So just to follow up on that, have you seen disruptions to the food chain, to the ecosystem, either due to climate change or rising sea levels in the Long Island Sound?
Not right away. I've seen disruptions in terms of our invasives. Taking away those plants is destabilizing a lot of the ecosystems. In terms of rising sea level and water temperature, I haven't seen anything directly, but obviously we in Mamaroneck know that it's an issue. But there's a couple things that I think we can do, and in terms of the rising sea level, there's I don't, I don't
But
know.
have you seen any disruptions in the food chain or any parts of that lately over the time you've been here or been studying this? Have there been disruptions, and what has been the impact that you've seen?
I've seen disruptions in terms of overfishing. Lots of every year shifts, and I get this a lot. Every year there's things that we see that are declining or like coming back. I have herring coming back, which is great, but then we have the striped bass population going down. But the striped bass are now spawning again in the Mamaroneck River, so that's cool to see. But disruptions for me, I haven't seen hands-on just yet, but I can't say to that because I see disruptions, but then they come back. Like the striped bass will hopefully come back next year. The bluefish went down for a couple of years, now they're slowly coming back. So it's an up and down, kind of.
Does your work in the harbor help preserve some of these natural habitats?
I'm trying, yeah. With this Asian shore crab, I've opened center just about 7 years ago. With the Asian shore crabs, I've been doing the removal for about 4 years in one baseline survey. Now the fiddler crabs are back, which is amazing, and the grass is growing back. So all you can do with Asian shore crabs is control, but I am seeing an awesome comeback of our fiddler crabs, as well as worms, which a lot of people don't care about, but the worms are coming back.
Well, what's the importance of having all of these? Because people may not know what the importance is and just see it as, oh, it's a worm or...
Yeah, so it's all important to, again, the food chain, it comes back to the food chain. Everything needs something to eat and an environment. That grass helps stabilize. That's why people do living shorelines. It helps stabilize, it helps flood mitigation. Also, the oysters, those living shorelines with oysters, like it just helps with that. That's for us mostly, but you see it also in habitat. Just everything, like with the fiddler crabs coming back, if you walk along especially in the harbor, if you walk along the wall there, you're gonna see little holes everywhere. Those holes help kind of like stabilize the sediment there and helps the grasses grow. The grasses help clean the water, but also stabilize. So everything has an important part in our ecosystem. So it's important to, educate about as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jennifer.
I was going to say, I think what's really important, and I know that Jocelyn and I notice this, and it sounds like Kyle does too. Nature is very cyclical, and it has a way of recovering. So we have the power to really make a difference in our own community and in our own environment when we notice that things are going wrong, and sometimes they do. Sometimes it's just natural, and sometimes it's a man or woman made. And when these things happen, we have the power to help correct these problems and actually change things for the better. And that's a lot of what Kyle does, and it's what we're trying to do at Sheldrake, to teach children especially, as well as adults, about how to be stewards, how to take care of our natural resources. They are valuable, they are not indestructible, and we have a responsibility to help them and to take care. And I think we try to do that every day when we teach. Do you have anything that you want to specific?
I actually just want to add a little more like woo-woo to that and say, it's a really easy message for children because it celebrates the diversity and the complexity of an ecosystem where each part is really valuable, even the earthworm or even a vulture that is, helps with all our detritus. So for kids and the recoverability and the nimbleness of an ecosystem is dependent on all those factors. And it just translates so easily to each child bringing something different to the table that is valuable, that should be celebrated. And we see it in real life with these kids when they come and the child who can't sit still in class just thrives on an outdoor trip, or the one who knows all this arcane trivia. Well, guess what? They might know it about birds, and they are the top. They are leading that field trip. And I mean, what I've learned over and over again is that there's always someone in a program, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong, who knows more than me? 100%. And so the thing isn't to be like, oh, I know better. No, it's to be like, come teach me. And every single trip I take, there's a question that I say, you know what, I don't know that answer. Let's go both look it up, and I'll follow up with your teacher. Or next time, if it's an after-school program, we'll report back to each other. So it gives them the respect that they are due, and they just rise to that. So that's another thing that I love about this. The lessons are so clear, and the empowerment is really there for the kids.
So what are some of the things that all of you have spoken about, the importance of being better stewards of our environment? What are some of the things that both adults and children can do to be better stewards of our environment?
I mean,
I know there's a very long list.
There's a very long list, but I mean, it's simple in many, many ways. I mean, both, Kyle's talked about it, and we do cleanups on our property as well. I would really just encourage people to take care of their own garbage. It's very, very simple. And it's a very powerful effect on the environment. And, the amount of time and energy and volunteer hours I know that are spent helping to clean up that which is made messy by people who could simply throw away their own garbage. I think it would be a very powerful change just for people. There are, waste bins everywhere. People just need to use them. It's very simple. Animals are exposed to hazards from the plastics that, we're leaving on the ground. They get tangled in them. I know that at Sheldrake we have people who fish and leave their fishing line all tangled up in the trees. The birds get tangled up in it. We've had to rescue a number of them because of it. It's very simple to just take care of what you leave behind and don't leave it behind. That to me is the number one. There's obviously a lot of other things, but I will let the other two experts speak for that.
I love that line, take care of what you leave behind.
Yeah, I'm right with Jennifer. I do a cleanup every Friday. Everyone's more than welcome to come.
What time is it on Friday?
3:30 every Friday. And I do cleanups for Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts do cleanups with me. But big thing, I had the Girl Scouts School Board. They did fishing line boxes. So I put them all around the harbor. And they've worked so far. A lot of people put garbage in them, which is fine as well, as long as it's not on the ground. But I've also, like the other day, I got an osprey out of, which was very hard, out of fishing line. It's everywhere. Fishing line that's another thing I teach. I actually have the culinary classes come down, and I teach sustainable fishing to them. Fishing line is huge, especially in the harbor. It's everywhere. Last time I did a panel like this, I showed up and I smelled like skunk because I got a skunk out of a McFlurry cup. I mean, it's true. I fishing, the garbage problem is such a big deal. I also like to teach about the stuff you can't see that's going down the storm drains, and that's a big reason I'm restoring the oysters. That stuff that you can't see is also a huge deal. So it's like what Jennifer said, just getting people to realize that it's this is their backyard. It really is a big problem. If you come down to the Marine Education Center, you'll see a big garbage dish that my volunteers made. And that's a big way to get kids. They come down and they see that and they're like, we want to add to it. So, I mean, anything you could do. It's just, I really like when people come by and they'll see us do a cleanup with like daisy troops, which are very young, and they'll say thank you. But then they'll say, can I do one with you? Which is nice, So, yeah, garbage is my biggest one as well. Big too.
Thank you. I love the partnerships, excuse me, that you all have within our community, because just as nature has its ecosystems, as a community we do too. And forging those connections and that involvement is so vitally important. So every organization has its challenges. What are some of the challenges facing both Sheldrake and the Marine Education Center? I see you two big smiles from Jennifer and Jocelyn. So one of you.
I'll let Jocelyn pick this one.
You know, you try to make challenges to be something positive, you know, like that nice positive spin. So one of them we've already discussed is sometimes we're a little too much of a stealth organization. You know, the number of parents who've said to me, "Oh, I didn't know you existed." We'd like you to know that we exist, you know. So it's a challenge for us to get ourselves out. We don't want to be a hidden gem, you know. In addition to all this programming that we offer, we have a small parking lot. Our trails are open dawn to dusk. They're free. We love it. You know, bring your dog on a leash and come. So we don't want to be as hidden. So it's a little bit of a challenge. Another challenge, and I'm sure you can relate, is that we are a very, very lean nonprofit organization. And sometimes our goals are here and we don't have the resources. And often the resources I'm talking about are human resources to do what we want to do. So that's something that we have to work on, you know, collecting more volunteers, training more naturalists, so we can deliver as much programming as we would like, because we'd like to say yes a lot. And the other thing we also touched on here was dealing with climate change and the step of invasive plants and animals on our property. And it really does affect the property in terms of just both visually, like what we're seeing, if we're seeing a monoculture of some invasive plant, it affects the recoverability of the soil or the trees, and it also affects the wealth of what kind of birds might visit us. If there's one invasive plant that they're not interested in eating and doesn't provide as much nutrition for their migration, they may not stop by. So dealing with invasive plants and animals in a positive and scalable way is definitely a challenge for us.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess my challenge would be kind of on the same level, but in terms of size of the building, there's only so much I can do with the size of my building. If you haven't been there, it's small, but it's great. But we do a lot of outdoors. I do have, I don't know if she's here, but I have huge support from the community for how new I am, but I do have a new nonprofit that is helping raise money for the center called the Friends of the Marine Education Center, run by Helen McCurdy. So you can join that. We're raising money for hopefully an outside building, so I can do winter programming more accessibly. I do a lot of birthday parties, and a lot of parents ask for winter birthdays, but I can't do them inside the center. My last birthday is November 9th, which is kind of stretching it, but they begged. That would be my challenge. I, again, have a lot of support for the projects that I do. A lot of outside organizations help me. Like I work very closely with the Long Island Sound Study. So right now with just me, I'm doing kind of what I can do. So in terms of size and people that help me, that would be my challenge.
And Jocelyn, you mentioned that challenges can also be seen as opportunities. So I want to close on asking each of you, what opportunities do you see? Any projects or partnerships in the pipeline? Any wish list items that you'd like to share with all of us? You can take a minute to think about that, but go for it.
I want to echo your thoughts about in a wish list for us is this outdoor classroom that is a little bit more of a dedicated outdoor space for programming that would really just enhance our educational opportunities with children and adults. So that is on our, aspirational thing. And then also I'm going to circle back to our native plant meadow that is a work in progress, and our next step is creating a beautiful meandering path through it. And we're hoping to do that 2025. And so it's a challenge. It's a beautiful challenge, and we're really looking forward to the growth of that.
Yeah, I'll just add on a little bit that I also really hope to get the outdoor classroom underway and hopefully completed over the next 2 years. So hopefully we'll start in the spring. If anyone would like to participate or in any way, whether it's fundraising or actual human labor, we are always looking for help with that. It's going to be a great space for education at the center, and we're really looking forward to making a really amazing outdoor classroom space at the center. We're also looking to add more signage around the property, which would, I really think, enhance the visitor experience. And we're always looking for any kinds of improvements that people, that our visitors are interested in. We have a bird blind, and I would like to improve that area and create a better viewing deck next to it. So we have a lot of aspirational projects, and there's always something to do when you are a nonprofit environmental center. Anyway, I want to thank everyone for coming and listening to us speak today. It's been a really great opportunity for Jocelyn and I, and your Kyle as well.
And it's been a wonderful opportunity for me too, to hear about the things that are in my own backyard that I can take advantage of. And it doesn't require pumpkins or kids. I can go with a pair of binoculars and learn about our local environment and ways to protect it and nurture it. So thank you all for your work and for being here today. And with that, I want to open up to the community to see if there are any questions in the audience. Yes. Is there a microphone? Take it first. There you go.
Phil Oldham with the Lions Club. The environment is one of our core issues, and it's a pleasure to be in this particular community where there are so many diverse and involved environmental groups. My question specifically is, what specific volunteer and financial support things are you looking to accomplish that can be, if I can, directly addressed?
Sure. I mean, for us at Sheldrake, we're always we do fundraising 2 times a year, and we always appreciate the public's donations during that time. They go to support the many programs that we do. We run a lot of free programming for the area, and the donations go to support that and many of the property improvements that we are trying to do. We specifically are looking for support for the outdoor classroom, for our bird blind improvements, and for many of the signs that we'd like to put around the property.
I just want to mention we love the Lions Club too,
Very
and
much.
Kevin Crow did in the trenches like specific work on our potting shed to help it be a safer place in terms of simple things like the stairs and the door and things like that, to which we really appreciated some like in the trenches labor for us. But at a certain point when we start doing the outdoor classroom, let's say, we will gather groups of volunteers to help us with some of the physical aspects of this. Same thing with our meadow and the meadow path. And we'd love to, invite anyone who'd like to volunteer from the Lions Club or the Women's Club or any other single, people or, to come and join us with projects like this.
Yeah,
And we'll make sure that they get on our website also these opportunities to join us in a volunteer experience.
And the Lions Club was a great supporter of our garden as well, so we very much appreciate the contributions.
Kyle, do you want to take a shot at what sort of financial support?
For me, the Friends of the Marine Education Center raises money for me. You could join them as a volunteer. You donate to them, and that's kind of with me how you would help raise funds for things like the outdoor classroom, the extra building. and I'm also raising money for, well, they are raising money for the inside touch tank that will be inside the Marine Education Center. So yeah, you would get in touch with them. They have a website, the Friends of the Marine Education Center. I think they have a Facebook now. They're fairly new. They started last year, I believe. So that's how you volunteer with me.
Thank you. Again, we'll include links to all of this in our follow-up.
I just want to add a thank you for Sheldrake. This past summer at Vacation Bible School, and if y'all don't, that's a Southern thing that's making its way to Larchmont. So if you don't know what that is, feel free to ask. We had very young elementary kids that it would have been pretty complicated to get out there for a short amount of time. And one of your volunteers, we talked about every living creature needs water, air, food, shelter, etc. And a volunteer came from Sheldrake about the role of trees and water and air and shelter, and it was magnificent. I mean, it was 40 minutes long, and they were all just captivated, and then had an opportunity to share what they know. And so I just want to thank you all, because we don't always think about you coming to other places, and it was phenomenal. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Kate DeHaze. I'm with the Village of Mamaroneck Committee for the Environment. So I just want to kind of put it out there. I know you. So we're at a very early stage. What we're doing with our elected officials, Nora, George Latimer here, and their help, and the help of Long Island Sound Study. Our committee has envisioned a Mamaroneck Greenway along the rivers, the 3.1 mile of Sheldrake and Mamaroneck River that comes down from your place and goes to your place. So that is a project that's underway. We created a small park called the Rockland Pocket Preserve, which is all done with native plants, and that exists and is a village park. So we're adding on to that. So it's very, very early days, but we go out on the river, we're outdoors every day, and we've seen osprey, blue heron, egret. There are freshwater clams that are living. With our volunteers, we're removing invasive species along the river banks, which is helping to mitigate flooding, and it's also making the river cleaner. So, we're at a very early phase of this. As your organizations were, I'm enough of an old timer to remember how the Sheldrake land many years ago was slated for development, and a group of local people gathered together and protected it. And that was a huge effort. And even the people who started the Marine Education Center, the Desmonds, some years ago. So we're kind of at that very early phase with the idea of connectivity. So, just kind of putting it out there for the public to know, and that we can all partner together and share information and so on and so forth. So, and also we have a cleanup as well. November 5th, our group does a twice a year cleanup in the parks and along the rivers. And we leave the harbor to Kyle, who does gorgeous work down there, but into the other parks around Mamaroneck. So that's Committee for the Environment, Village of Mamaroneck. So thanks for letting me make the pitch.
Thank you for that pitch.
You're welcome.
I think with that and all the opportunities. Oh, one more question. I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Hi, I'm Larry Thal. I wanted to say that question and answer preempted my question, because I was going to ask. I have a first cousin who's a Linnaean Society member, PhD, evolutionary biologist. He slows me down when I take a walk, and I notice things I'd never noticed. Well, along that line, I was wondering if there's anything else that is pending with governmental entities, county, state level, where monies or grants perhaps are becoming available for this important effort of education and protection of our environment.
I know the Long Island Sound Study does a great grant program. I've been hounded by Lily to do one, so I probably am going to do an educational grant this year. I'm very lucky to be a village entity, so they probably have better views on that.
Yeah, there's always grant opportunities, and we have been the recipients of grants in the past. We actually are very fortunate to have an ongoing relationship with Con Edison, who provides us with a grant each year to support many of the programs that we do. We also have relationships and receive funding from the local municipalities. And we are very appreciative for these, and over the years we've had various private entities provide grants for projects that we're doing, and I imagine that we'll try to pursue that in the coming year again for some of the larger projects that we're looking to undertake at Sheldrake.
Thank you. Well, there's clearly interest among our elected officials, some of whom are here. We have County Executive George Latimer, Rachel Estroff, who's with Senator Shelley Mayer, and Nora Lucas. So there are plenty of opportunities and clearly interest for connection and grants, etc. So again, I want to thank you all. Also, I see Sabrina Fiddleman here from Town of Mamaroneck. And I want to thank you all for coming out today, and I hope to see you in the outdoors. Have a good day, everybody.
And next month, we will be back on our regular schedule, the second Tuesday of the month, which will be November 12th, and we will be talking about traffic and safety in our area, something of great interest.